And let me present our next speaker. This is Julia Hausmann. She will speak about the fourth dimension, color in dialogue with art and architecture. So after Julia graduated from school, she spent 1 year at private art academy before she started to study interior design and architecture at the University of Wuppertal. Later, she moved to Berlin, where she studied at the Universität der Künste and the Technische Universität Berlin. She graduated with the masterclass of Matteo Saarbruch, owner of Saarbruch Architects, one of the leading German architects working on color in architecture. After her studies, she started working in international architecture offices in the Netherlands, mainly Rotterdam and Amsterdam, in the fields of interior design, architecture, and urban planning. Back in Germany, she worked in an office with an affinity for Dutch architecture and focused on color and material in different projects. In 2015, she founded her own office, Farbarchitektur, and besides her project work, Julia is a speaker on the topic of colors and materials. Since August of last year, she's the vice president of the German Color Association and Deutsches Farbenzentrum. So Julia, we are very happy that you have joined us today, and the screen is yours. Julia, you are muted.
Does it work with full screen?
Yeah,
No.
Good. The full screen, not yet.
Why is it again not working? I'm sorry.
No problem.
Now. Yeah.
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm happy to share my color enthusiasm today with you all. I have to admit it's a bit challenging for me, Sunday morning and English, but I'll do my best. And as Maya already gave a nice introduction, I can directly start to talk about the fourth dimension and my work in terms of implementing color into architecture and interior design projects. As an architect, working with color means working with paints. And depending on the recipes of the paints, with different materials. On the other hand, I work with materials, depending on their surface and processing, having different colors. So it's always all about materials. The aim of my work is to implement color at an early stage of the project to get holistic projects and with the whole approach. As you can see on this diagram, I moved over the years more or less along the 50th degree of latitude. So my perspective on color might be a quite Northern European one. I enjoyed art and architecture quite early, as my parents were very interested in both. But when I started to study, I quickly had to realize that color in architecture is not a topic which is taught in a classical architectural study, not even at the University of Arts. So I had to find my own way of getting the knowledge. 26 years ago, when I studied in Berlin, I joined a seminar where we were asked to add a fourth dimension to the famous Le Corbusier Maison Domino, which he designed in 1914, and which was a prototype for the prefab housing. And with this open floor plan and concrete structure, a very visionary project. To me, it seemed obvious that the fourth dimension would be colors. So I spent hours in the library studying Le Corbusier's architecture, art, and the resulting polychromie architecturale. And I played with the structure, added colors and trompe-l'œil effects. And when I went to see my professor with my first ideas, he told me I was on the wrong track. It was the fourth dimension would be time. So I felt misunderstood, but I kept on with my own I went on with my own interpretation, and I learned a lot about color in space and architecture. So I'm going to show you some of the early artworks Le Corbusier and his cousin Pierre Jeanneret did. They studied color, light, and forms and played with the interaction. And later they applied these studies in the space, like here in the Maison La Roche in Paris, which was built in 1923. And you see it's really a sculptural approach with the stair in here, and then the inlay in the floor and the table, which was really fixed in the space. And then also a structural element on the right, which provided light and shade effects. In his functional architecture, he played with the color, but he also had really strong contrasts. In the right, you can see the corridor with the black floor and the dark window elements, and a very soft white, which I really like about the Maison La Roche. We often talk about the white modernism, and as you can see there, it's really a special sandstone warm white. And in the left, it's the dining room of the house. With this warm hue, he created a cozy, communicative atmosphere. And again, his artworks were presented there in the space. In 1931, he designed the color collection Polychromie Architecturale for the Swiss wallpaper manufacturer Salubra. It got 43 different colors, and they are all related to nature. So it's a quite harmonic color keyboard, which is still a very good tool to create color design or to apply color design in architecture. Later, he added 20 more tones in 1959, which had a more bright hue and and had a different appearance and harmonies. And in one of the last projects, he planned the Swiss pavilion in Zurich, the Corbusier pavilion. You can see how he played with these colors. And I love this roof garden, or roof terrace, which you can see on the left picture. He really worked with the reflections of the metal, and it almost seems like there's water underneath the roof. And then again, here on the right, he contrasted the structure, the elements of the architecture with color, with the beautiful blue wall, which is also a perfect background for the colorful art piece. So my fascination for Le Corbusier and modernist projects is, let's say, the red line, which is going through my work. And as I love to travel, I saw already many projects. And in 2019, I prepared a lecture titled Colorful Scandic for the International Furniture Fair in Cologne. And it was about the famous housing trend, Scandi style, which is everywhere, again, I think very popular. And its roots in the Nordic modernism. I saw today we have some guests from Scandinavia, and I found it really nice because, yeah, I have a focus in my work to Scandinavian design. And I want to show you two examples of houses where I think color schemes are really carefully worked out. So I start with the Villa Stenersen in Oslo, which was built in the 1940s from the Norwegian architect Arne Korsmo. And it was commissioned by Rolf Stenersen, a financier and an art collector. And the villa should provide both a family residence and also a gallery for his huge art collection. So as you can see here, it is a functionless building with a subtraction, the visible structure, the columns, and then the typical flat roof. I love the way how he applied the blue in the facade. And it is a typical Korsmo blue. And in here, it seems to lift up the facade towards the sky. I mean, it will not really work out on a rainy day, but with this picture, it works perfectly. Typical for the modernist architects were also the awnings, which I find a really nice atmospherical element in architecture, because you got the light, a warm light in the inside. You can see on the first floor some glass bricks, which will provide some diffuse, I don't know, special daylight for protecting the art pieces in the inside. So if you enter the house, you come into a light flooded space, and to me, it seems quite contemporary with the yellow structured wall and the elliptical element like here. It provides hospitality somehow, could be a bar or something. And you see a elegant terrazzo floor where he also created an inlay with a black terrazzo, which could be a rug, like zoning the sitting area. If you enter the first floor, the atmosphere is much more cozy. It's workspace, and then on the other hand, the library. And he added some blue, again the blue, in the library. He painted the ceiling to pull the sky into the room. And what I also really like about modernist architecture is that the ceiling was really an element which they had in mind. And nowadays it's often neglected, and it's a pity. So the pink is also a shade which he loved, and we already saw earlier in the Corbusier reference in Maison La Roche. And then here you see the bathroom and the master bedroom, just the surface of the wall where you can really see that they work with different pigments, because it's really a vivid surface, the white. It's a warm surface, and he plays with the daylight setting. And then also in the bathroom, I think you get in a good mood in the morning if you enter it. And I love the interaction of the green and the yellow. And also that one could be a contemporary design, as we see the colorful bathrooms coming back. So today, the villa is part of the National Museum, and the National Museum organized 5 years ago an exhibition titled Le Corbusier by the Sea. So now this is how the circle closed. Another project I would like to show today is the Finn Juel House in Denmark. It's close to Copenhagen in Ordrup. And it's also a house which works as a museum, the Museum Otrupgard. And it was built and designed in 1937. And Finn Juul, as an architect and a furniture designer, he had always the human body in mind. So you can see the house is in a beautiful green setting, and it got a completely different appearance, even though it's kind of functionalist design. He created an L-shaped bungalow, and I love how he applied color details in the facade. Like you can see the blue beams above the windows, or here where the benches positioned, the blue window frames, and then again the awning, which would bring warm yellow light into the living room. If you enter inside, it's an open plan house, and you can see this corner, which we saw from the garden view, here in the inside. So the connection towards the garden is there, and the blue window frames are connected with the interior style in this corner. So you see the blue fabrics, the rug, and then even the connection with the art piece. And if you take a glimpse to the little right picture, you can see the entrance area where he applied the blue at the ceiling. So it was really special about that design, that he applied color on every ceiling. Every ceiling was painted in another color. So for the living room, which you can see on the left side, it was, he wanted to create a really calm and soft atmosphere with this little furniture element he designed. And the yellow is the main color. So it's a bright, soft yellow on the ceiling. And if you imagine to look out of the window on the left side, there is the awning. So the yellow light would come into the room as well from the window side. And then the main yellow spot is the pullover of the lady in the art piece. So it's he was really obsessed with details, as you can see in his furniture designs, and also overall everywhere in the house. On the right side, in the bedroom, the main focus is in the connection to nature, to the outside. And here he used a glossy finish for the ceiling. And I can imagine if you lie in bed and you see how the leaves are reflected with the sunlight in the garden, it must be really beautiful. And again, the link from the paint to the fabric, the plate on the bed is the same color. One of his masterpieces, this wonderful chair positioned in the living room. And you can see here very fine details, like above the bookshelf, the red line, which is then the separation between the shelf and the ceiling, and again, the blue beams of the windows, which are repeated in the blue of the shelves and even the vase. When he designed, he always got organic forms and color in mind. And he played with colors in sofas or here in the sideboard. As he wanted to be an artist, drawings and paintings were always very important for him. His father told him to better do something real. That's why he studied architecture. But the watercolor drawings are so beautiful, and I can really recommend a book about the watercolors. You might know them. because he created whole interior setting in these drawings. And I think here, as you see the light and shade, and you almost feel the structure of the fabrics. It's really beautiful. He also designed a masterpiece for his wife. It is a glove cabinet, and if you close it, it's a wooden box, and as you open it, you see these wonderful colors, and it is like a jewelry box. And here, the colors refer to Goethe's Farbentheorie and his color wheel. So he was really into color. And a few years ago, House of Vignoule designed a textile collection with 32 colors of the watercolor drawings, and it's also a wonderful collection with fabrics and wool and cotton. So it's nice how the story goes on. Last but not least, I'm going to show you one of my projects and how I apply color in space. It's an art collector's villa here in Cologne that was built in the 1930s. And in this case, I showed some pictures before the renovation. It's a really wonderful structure with this wooden staircase, wooden floors, lattice windows, and the stucco moldings. As art collectors, they would really have exclusive materials, and they appreciate also the quality of paint. So that was a really nice commission for me. And we had a quite high budget, which was also a nice start of project. And they do love color, but they did not really dare to apply color. So 14 rooms had to be redesigned, and yeah, I had to bind the colors of the interior and the art pieces together. And as you can see on the right picture, some elements, interior elements like this couch, were really heavy, like the black leather, and the contrast was strong. So my aim was to soften the contrast. On the first floor, the lady, the client, she was already trying to work with color. So she has her little studio on the first floor. And she told me, I don't know why, but I don't use this room. So she didn't feel comfortable, and she couldn't say why. And it's a really small room. And then this Danish design element with also bold colors, and again, the art pieces and the curtains, it all needed somehow a calm appearance. And then on the other hand, she also painted the fitness room, and she wasn't happy with this either, because she told me it's not dynamic enough. And that was the point where she realized it might be good to have someone helping them out with designing a color scheme. So I tried to understand the art pieces and the interior, and then the world of colors which were there, and then designed my own color scheme. So the overall mood was nature, let's say, and then I created 3 moods for the 3 floors: the first floor, the ground floor, the first floor, and the upper floor. So for a skillful color scheme, it was important to me that that we create a certain flow, and that the colors don't have too strong contrast, but the same lightness and chroma. So we got 2 exceptions. This is the dark blue, which I chose for the ladies' room, and then also this tone, the darker red, which is applied on for the guest toilet. So, but for the rest, we have kind of harmony by the same lightness. And you see here the gray, which goes through all 3 moods. This is the staircase, which is connecting the 3 levels and therefore also all the rooms. I started with the dining room, and which got the connection towards the garden. I chose the bright green, which perfectly matches with the existing wooden floor and gives a fresh look to this room, which they would also use in the morning. And it really frames the view to the garden. And it is a very exclusive pigment. It's a Verona earth, which is also used for landscape paintings and which creates a great depth of color. For the ceilings, I chose a exclusive material as well. So the white is really a special pigment because the color of the walls would reflect on the ceiling, as you can see here on the next picture. So if you turn around, the pink is the counterpart to the green. This room would be more used during the evening, so artificial light is important. And you can see here on the ceiling with the artificial light how the pink reflects on the ceiling. And you can also see that the contrast between the black elements and the white elements are softened. And then the staircase, it is just an elegant gray, which gives a perfect background to different art pieces. And you can take a glimpse already into the little studio of Fiona, which was painted in a very beautiful velvet blue. So this furniture element got now a calm surrounding, and it's really the element of the room. And for the rest, she had her own little art pieces. And she told me, I'm so happy that now I can use the room again because she feels comfortable in the room. And it was quite hard to convince her to take a dark tone because she said the room is so small, but the blue widens the room and it works really well. And also here again, the connection between inside and outside works well. And then the fitness, I chose a dynamic turquoise, which is also here one detail in this photography. That was quite difficult one because of all the strong colors which are in here, but they are satisfied. And the counterpart here is an umbra for the sleeping room, which creates a calm and cozy atmosphere for the master bedroom. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me, or if you want to know more about my theoretical approach to color or my project, just check out my website. Thank you.